Hello, everyone, and we're here with Coach Messer. How you doing today, Coach?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So when did you realize coaching was something you wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Um, I realized that coaching was something that I wanted to do probably about the 10th grade,
Mm,
about the 10th grade. I always wanted to play professionally for the rest of my life. I thought I would play professionally. And I started playing in college. I played at the University of Arkansas, had a chance to try out for a WNBA team, didn't make it, and I had opportunities to play overseas. And so I said, no, I want to stay here. And I ended up coaching and never looked back. My first practice, I was like, okay, this is what I was born to do. But I
mm,
figured about the 10th grade that I would coach. I thought it would be after my playing career, not so soon after my college career.
mm. Um, so you're an Arkansas native, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you were to use one word to describe an Arkansas basketball player, what would it be and why?
How many words or just any word?
One word, one word.
Oh, one word. Toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Toughness. Like we're people who are just grinders. We pull up our sleeves and go to work. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say toughness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you were to use one word to describe your coaching style, what would it be and why?
Uh, Gritty.
Gritty.
Yeah. And why? Because when you think about every championship that is won, it's the little things. It's a rebound that was gotten at the last second. It was a defensive stop. It was a tough pull-up shot. It's always the little things, just the little things that separates you from being a champion. So we do all the gritty work to make sure when we're in that opportunity to win a championship that we're prepared.
Mm-hmm. As a coach, what are your non-negotiables?
Non-negotiables, late, lack of effort, and I would say those are my top two non-negotiable. You can't be late and you can't give me lack of effort.
Mm-hmm. Today's young player, many, not all, but I would say a good portion of them, don't watch basketball on the women's side. I've noticed that's a trend. Why do you think that is the case, and how can we modify this?
So you said today's young players, like
Yeah,
for the women?
yeah, on the women's side,
Mhm.
today's young women basketball players. Like if you were to line up 20 of your girls on a team, I would assume that probably half don't really watch, women's the WNBA. So, why do you think that is the case, and how can we modify that?
Well, I think we can modify it by encouraging it. I mean, when you look at, to me, some of the best players, when you look at Tarasi and what she brings to the table and to be able to steal some of her moves
Mhm.
is tremendous. And I wouldn't understand why a young player wouldn't want to emulate that. Um, so I think we have to encourage them as a staff. And two, it's all game. It's us.
Mhm.
Basketball, we got to protect it. It's about the future. So to me, the game is better from when I played in college to, each year it got better.
Mhm.
So hopefully I left my legacy for this generation. And so we have to do the same when it comes to WNBA.
Mhm.
That's our outlet. When you graduate from college, we have a place here in America where we could go and play in the WNBA, which is amazing. So we have to encourage our student athletes to watch the game and cherish it.
Mhm. Mhm. Your first big break in the coaching world was Arkansas State, correct?
Yes, yes.
Um, Tell me about that time, and how did that mold you in the coach that you are today?
So Arkansas State, It was a blessing. And it's one of those things when you look in life and you go, okay, God had this plan. Now, that's when I just had gotten released from a WNBA team and decided I did not want to go overseas. And I wanted to go into coaching. And I wanted to do it at the collegiate level. So I went at this big AAU tournament, okay, before I got the Arkansas State job. And I hand out my resumes to different college coaches and just let them know, listen, I want to get into coaching, da 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 da. The first person I met was Brian Boyle, who was the head coach at Arkansas State. And I stayed there all day handing out resumes. About 2 days later, he called me and he said, hey, I'm interested in interviewing you. I have a position that just came open. He had a position that came open in August. Someone left in August. And I would like to interview you. And so I said, okay. I was living in Huntsville, Alabama at that time with my sister. He said, could you meet me in Memphis at Applebee's? And so here's the story. He was driving to Applebee's. By the time he had spoken to me, he had decided that he was going to give the job to someone else, a former player at Arkansas State.
Mhm.
He was just driving to Applebee's to let me know that. He
Mhm.
gets in and we go to communicating and talking. And he was like, okay, I was driving here, to be honest, to turn you down, but now I want to hire you. And so I ended up getting the job by communicating and talking to him, and I'll meet in Applebee's. I say that to say he was the first person I handed the resume to. I was not going to get the job, but ended up getting the job. And I just think that God had a plan for me to be in Arkansas State for a lot of reasons. It gave me an opportunity to stay in the state of Arkansas, to be around family. And I think too, where I was as a coach, it was good to be with Brian and where he was as a coach, and to have my career begin in that way. So I just think the Lord stepped in and guided that whole situation from handing out resumes to getting to meet. And he initially was going to turn me down with the job. So I feel fortunate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So next step, Memphis.
Yes.
Um, why was that an ideal place for you at that point in your life?
Well, so Arkansas State was in Sunbelt.
Mhm.
Memphis is right across the bridge from Arkansas State, from Jonesboro. It's not a long drive at all. It's just a bridge really connecting the state of Arkansas and the state of Tennessee. And so it wasn't a long drive for me. It wasn't a big move as far as distance. However, Arkansas State was in the Sun Belt and Memphis was in the Conference USA. And I thought at that time, my goal was to move up each. If I took a job, it was a job of promotion. So I felt like Memphis was a bigger conference at that time, better situation. So
Mhm.
that's why I chose Memphis.
Mhm. Um, you then went on to be the RC at Georgia Tech. Um,
Mhm.
that's a hard position. Because you may have one perspective on a player, but then your head coach may have a different type of perspective on a player. So, um, making that blend and making that work, it can be tough at times, but a good RC can do it. Um, Tell me now that you're a head coach, what catches your eye in regards to a player, and for any young coach that's an RC,
Mhm.
one piece of advice you can give them.
So as a RC, one of the things I did was the head coach I went to work for at Georgia Tech. She had only been a head coach 1 year. And so I was her second RC. But the thing I did, I went and watched film. I watched film on the previous year. So I wanted to know what style of play she wanted. She could tell you, but if you see it visually, it helps. So I watched film, so I knew when I went out to recruit what type of players she was looking for,
Mhm.
based on the previous year and her style of play. So I will say that advice is important. Know what your head coach wants. And another piece of advice I think is key. Young RCs, be where your feet are. The jobs will come. sometimes we try to move up quickly in the ladder and in coaching. And if you do right by the program that you're at, anything else, any of your other dreams, they will come true. So I would say figure out what your head coach want, work your tail off, and be all in where you are.
You then went on to become the head coach at Tennessee Tech. You were quite successful there. Tell me about your time, why you decided to move on from there.
Yeah, so when I took over at Tennessee Tech, they were predicted to be next to last in the conference. My first year there, I had all freshmen and all sophomores, no returning. I had a few returning players, but they decided they couldn't handle it. So they transitioned out. And so I had to go hit the road with all freshmen and sophomores. We ended up finishing fourth my first year, next to last to fourth. Second year, we won the OVC championship. And I won Coach of the Year. And it was just a turnaround, a quick turnaround. And I think the reason we had success, number one, is I was clear about my expectations. There's three things that my team and my players, my staff was going to stand for. That's character, academics, and basketball. Each day we were going to bring those things, and those were going to be the most important thing. So I think that's why I was able to go recruit and get kids that believed in those things, and my staff believing in those things, and we made a quick turnaround. So that was part of our success.
You jumped back over to Georgia Tech, and then you went to Baylor.
Right.
Highly successful there during your time there. You know, then you go to LSU with Coach Mulkey for a year. Some things we learn via observation, and some things learned via conversation. Tell me something you learned from Coach Mulkey, either watching her or talking to her, that has helped you now or will help you in your coaching journey until, the next level.
Observation, the thing I learned was every day we didn't take a day off at Baylor when it came to preparation and practice. So saying that would be if we were prepping to play Grambling or if we were prepping to play UConn, we approach both games the same. It didn't matter. So observing that and being a part of that was key. And that's something that I take everywhere I've gone and learned from coaches. Hey, that preparation is the same. And I think sometimes you can get relaxed. You think it's an automatic win. And I think that I learned from her to approach every game the same. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. Conversations. We had a lot of them because we traveled together a lot. And but one thing I learned from her is don't tell the team anything that you're not going to follow through on. If you say you're going to do something, you have to follow through on. That's with your staff, that's with your team, that's with anybody. So if you say we got practice at 7, then practice need to be at 7. Or if you say we're going to run for every missed rebound, then we're going to run for every missed rebound. So I would say that those are things that I learned from Kim, and I think that it's tremendous, and I think it's going to help me in this next journey.
You then went on to become the head coach at UCF. What made this place an ideal fit for the next step in your journey?
Well, you know what? I'm a spiritual person, and so I have to feel it to do it. So UCF, once I got on campus and I met with Terry, who's our athletic director, Dr. Cartwright, who is our president, and just other head coaches here on campus, I fell in love with it. And I felt like, you know what, this is what the Lord want me to be. I was fortunate enough to have other opportunities prior to UCF, and I just didn't feel it. But here, I knew, and I knew it was time. It was time for me to step out. It was time for me to my knowledge, bring it to these young ladies as the head coach and my experiences. So as soon as I was on campus, I knew it was time, and I fell in love with it. It's a beautiful campus. We have palm trees in the heart of campus, over 70,000 students. We're getting ready to join the Big 12, which is going to be a Power 5 conference. I mean, it's my dream job. It's perfect.
We talked earlier about your time at Tennessee Tech in a rebuild, and now you're at UCF, a pretty stable program for the past, couple of years. What do you think is harder, having been on both sides of the spectrum, building something or now trying to maintain something and take that to another level?
So we've been very steady at UCF the last few years, which is great. I love that. But we are in a situation of rebuilding, because with the portal and the transition, we only have 5 players that are returning from the previous team, and those 5 didn't play a lot. So they are young. They won't be able to bring us the experience of having played tremendous amount of time in American. However, they have been on winning programs, which is good. So they know what it takes to win. And I'm excited about that. And so this is kind of a rebuilding situation, even though we've been steady, but the steady impact players are gone. But that's okay. That's why I'm here. And that's why the players that chose to come join this program, and the players that we were fortunate enough to retain, we're excited about it and seeing what we could do to put our own stamp on this program.
It's easy to talk about the good. Let's talk about a rough patch right now. I think we all as coaches go through it, whether it be not getting along with the head coach, not getting along with coworkers, tough times with the student athletes. Maybe you're not getting paid that much. Tell me a low point in your career in which it kind of put you in a bind, and you was like, this is the fork in the road moment. I don't know if this is for me, and how you got through that.
Low point in my career, I've had a few, but my first experience as with a low point was my 4th year in coaching. And I just didn't see a lot of quick turnaround and my impact on the program. And I'm such a competitor, right? And I hold myself to a higher standard probably than my boss did. And I didn't feel like I was impacting the way I wanted to. And so I didn't know if I wanted to continue to coach at this level. I thought maybe going to a high school level would be my calling. So I went home and I talked to my sister, and she just reminded me, listen, you are meant to be at the highest level, and it takes time, and don't beat yourself up so much. Your expectations are sometimes higher than others for you. But I thought I was letting down people. And so I was looking like, listen, I don't want to hurt this program. I need to transition out. And thank God my sister and one of my brothers told me, no, you're going to stay at this D1 level. And when they told me that, I did it and saw some success because I weathered the storm and my impact on the program. And so I would say that was one of my low points, is that I thought I wasn't bringing my part to the table at a particular place.
You've been to a fair bit of interviews. You've been a head coach. You've been in a lot of interviews to be a head coach and have been a head coach. For the young aspiring assistant coaches that want to be a head coach, what's one question that might have thrown you off? You're like, you guys, you got to be ready to handle this question, whether it be, or you got to come with your portfolio already, or whatever the case may be, a mission statement, whatever it is. But one question that really tied you up, or one that, we should be prepared to answer.
I wouldn't say a question that tied me up, but I think it's a question you should be prepared to answer. And that is your 5-year plan. So if you take a program, like we taking a program now, our program, like you said, has been very steady and good through the past, but we're a different program. We're not the same. That core has transitioned on. So I had to have a 5-year plan in my interviewing process. Okay, if you take the team right now, what is your plan? And I think that that's the question everybody should be prepared to ask in interviews, because you can come in woo wow and I got you. Okay, but the honeymoon ends at some point. So what is your plan? So 5-year plan. Please be prepared to answer that in any interview.
Today's kid is different than maybe 20 years ago. I think that maybe in the past a recruit would come in, you show them the campus, the administration, the tutoring center, all that type of stuff. Then they're out. Boom, that's it. More
That's
than
it.
nowadays, you show these kids this and that and that and this, and you got handlers and this and that and that and this, and you ask them if they have a question, and now they're like, actually, I got 20 questions. So you got
Yes.
to be prepared to answer those questions. What is the most unique question or the hardest question you had to answer in regards to a recruit coming in on campus or via phone conversation?
I think it's the hardest question has been most recently for me. I've been doing this 22 years. I had a prospect ask me about the bottom line, the number with it, NIL, being able to, and we can't get involved in those things, when it comes to that, prospect have to go out and market their own name, image, and likeness, those things. And there are some universities that are fortunate to have, boosters or whatever you want to call it, people who are guaranteed or signing the whole team to NILs. And so I think that's been the hardest question for me, because I can't guarantee you anything. We can't be involved. And so most recently, that's it, 22 years, most recently, that was a hard question because I can't get it. We can't get involved. And but some teams are fortunate, like I said, to have people who sign the whole team into a deal. And if you don't have that, then that's difficult. However, we are in Orlando. We are in a city where dreams come true. And if you work it, it can happen. So we were able to point the young lady in the right directions with our people we have on campus in a legal way to get it done. But I just thought that was an interesting question. What are the numbers?
So, final question. When we see UCF play, if I come out and I watch you guys play, and I am walking out the arena, walking back to my car, what do you want me to feel? What's the one thing you feel like, what, UCF is, they're this. I need to have, what's the feeling? What's the thought in my mind you want me to have that's permeating my mind?
UCF is going to get after you when it comes to defense. UCF defense is the old Nolan Richardson, 40 minutes of hell. And that's what I want you to walk off saying, okay, these young ladies are going to guard you. And I just think too, with the type of team we have this year, we're going to have to create and be very intentional about our grind on the defensive end.
All right, Coach. Anything I missed you want to share? This is when you can say anything you want. Tell me about a book that you read recently, a clinic you watched that was awesome. Just anything in general. This is your time.
Okay, so book I read recently was John Thompson's book.
Okay.
And it was amazing. John Thompson talked about, I didn't realize that he played for the Celtics at one point, and he had won at every level, from high school to college, and to a college coach winning a national championship. assistant coach with a gold medal, but as the head coach, he didn't win a gold medal with the Olympics. He talked about as a minority having to guide Georgetown and lead Georgetown, and do that in a way that was high character with student athletes and the community, and how he was pulled in 100 different ways. And just listening how he handled that and protected his team, protected the reputation of Georgetown, and held his staff accountable, his team accountable. And it was amazing. So that's the book I just read, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I would recommend that.
Awesome, awesome. You got me, coach. You got me. I'm gonna go pick it up. All right,
Yeah.
coach. Well, I thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I know you're gonna do a fantastic job at UCF, and I'll be sure to watch you guys. And everybody else should watch too, because I know it's gonna be an
Right.
exciting brand of basketball. I love defense. I love pressure. It's
There
gonna
we
be
go.
on my tombstone. Christian, the man who loved the press. So I'm here for it. I'm here for it, coach. So I wish you nothing but luck and good fortune this year.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
No problem, coach. You have a good one.
Okay.